This election season, the Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV brings you up close and personal with Prince George's County executive candidates. It's more than politics, we're diving into their stories, passions, and visions for our community. Tune in daily on Bowie TV local channels and YouTube, and on the Kayla Evans Show YouTube channel. The special election is March 4th. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Kayla Evans Show. This platform is uniquely designed to educate and empower individuals of all walks of life as we converse with experts of various industries. These intellectual conversations are designed to inspire and uplift members of our culture and society, collectively gaining knowledge and information dedicated to our human experience. Let's get into it. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV. This special edition is part of our Prince George's County Executive Leadership Forum series, where we're engaging directly with the candidates vying to lead our county into the future. Our goal here is to go beyond politics and focus on leadership, vision, and real impact on our community. Today, we're honored to continue this series with our special guest, Prince George's County State's Attorney, Aisha Braveboy. As the county's top prosecutor, she has been at the forefront of our criminal justice reform, public safety, and community advocacy. Now she's looking to take on an even greater leadership role as she campaigns for our county executive. In this conversation, we'll explore her vision for Prince George's County, her strategies for tackling key challenges, and what leadership means to her beyond politics. We'll discuss her approach to governance, public safety, education, and how she plans to ensure that every resident, from the most underserved to the most empowered, has a voice in shaping the future of our community. State's Attorney Braveboy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Kayla, for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to jump right in. We have a limited amount of time. I want the people to understand who you are and how you are planning to shape what Prince George's County looks like here in the future.
Sure.
Many people hear the title of county executive, but may not really fully understand what that means. From your perspective, how do you define what the role of county executive actually is?
You know, the county executive is the chief executive officer, essentially, of the county. That individual is responsible for making decisions, setting the direction, the vision of the county, and executing on that vision. The county executive, the job is one of collaboration because you have so many stakeholders, including the community, but also other elected officials, individuals at the municipal level, the county level, the state level, and the federal level that you deal with to get resources and development and services to the residents here in Prince George's County. So it is a dynamic role and one that is extremely important.
Absolutely. And as we understand what that role looks like, we kind of look backwards before we look forwards, understanding that you served as our state delegate, you've served now as our state's attorney, and now you're pushing forward and gunning for this new role as Prince George's County executive. As you maneuver through, why at this particular time? Why go for this role now after your illustrious career and all that you've done? Why is now a good time?
Well, let me just say, I have loved every single job I've done here in the county, whether it's in the public sector or in the private sector. And I've made a difference everywhere I've been. And that has been really meaningful to me because my goal always is to leave a place better than I found it. And what I see in my role as state's attorney is where government has not actually met the needs of people. And unfortunately, sometimes those individuals end up in the criminal justice system. That's not to say that people aren't responsible for their own decisions. But what it means is that if we give people greater hope, greater opportunities, that they're going to be less likely to make those bad decisions. And so, whether it's like our children who are not attending school, so enforcing our truancy laws so that our children are getting a real education. And in fact, making sure that our educational system is meeting the needs of our young people, meaning let's do early assessments of where our children are in terms of the learning process so that we can provide interventions much earlier to help them stay at or above grade level. And I say above because some of our kids are super achievers, but they may not be taught in the way that is best for them. But if we figure that out early, we really give our children the best opportunity to achieve where they really can achieve. And some of them who even might have, whether they have learning disabilities or, other challenges, they may actually be genius, they may be geniuses, but we're not getting that out of them because they're not able to learn in the way that they're being taught. And so they fall behind, they may be disruptive. But if you talk to them, sometimes you talk to folks who are disruptive and you realize, wow, they have a lot of thoughts in their head. They're really smart. And you're like, why don't you just apply this to school? But now we got to figure out how to meet them where they are and get them there. So I just feel like all of our kids have the ability to achieve their wildest dreams, right? And it is our job as the adults to help them get there. Also, when I look at what we see in the criminal justice system, which is a lot of people with substance abuse or mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so what we do know is that we don't have a robust mental health and substance abuse network here in the county. So we have to grow that to ensure that everyone has access to assist them in addressing real concerns, just like we would if they were dealing with a physical health issue. Mental health is real. And so we have to make sure that we provide parity and access.
Absolutely. And I hear and in understanding who you are and what your role has looked like in shaping that framework within the criminal justice system. We also need to assess what the particular needs are of the families that will be serviced within the county.
Yes.
So, and in your role currently in the past, and how would you plan to reach out to those community members and connect with them directly to understand, like, what are your needs? How can I service you best? Aside from an email or seeing you at a forum, right? We see a lot of that. How will you really connect with your constituents to see what their needs are for service?
I think we have to, be just as interested in connecting with people and messaging to them during election season as we are every other time of the year. And so using these same platforms, talking to folks like you, Kayla, I mean, you have a network that needs to hear from me, and so I need to come to your show. So using social media, using direct contact with residents, whether it's through text messaging or phone banking, calling, I'll be on your YouTube too, right?
Right.
Because the messages need to get to people where they are. So right now we're asking people to vote for us. So we're creating these wonderful videos and we're asking people to consider us. Well, when I am the county executive, I want people to know the services of government, of our health department, of our social services department, of our family services department. The best way to do it is what we're doing now. We know it works. So we don't want to hide the resources and services of government. We want to be able to give it to people where they are.
Absolutely. And that's what we need. And using this platform is a fantastic way for us to do that for sure. I want to pivot just a little bit. We understanding now who the role of county executive is. We understand a lot about what your previous roles have looked like in government. But I want to tap more into who you are as an individual. Like, who is Miss Aisha Braveboy, aside from the title? Like, what personal experiences and values shape your leadership to tie us into this community? I want to hear more about you as the individual.
Well, I think understanding me would be really understanding where I came from. And I came from two just amazing parents. Cuthbert Braveboy, who's my dad. He's an immigrant from Grenada. He came to this country to attend Howard University. And honestly, that is the story of so many of our immigrants, especially in this area. They came to go to Howard. Howard's the Mecca. And it was a big deal. My father came from a very small island. About 120 or so thousand people live on the island. And to send your child to school from a small island, it's a big deal. And so when they get there, there's a lot of expectation that they'll do well, that they'll excel, and then that they'll help out that next generation. And so those are the values that I grew up understanding. And it didn't matter that I hadn't seen my cousins who were back home at the time. It mattered that we were related in some way, and I cared about them. I wanted them to be successful too. My mother grew up in Washington, D.C. Her grandmother, or my grandmother, which is her mother, kind of raised her for the most part as a single parent. And my grandmother worked in people's homes. She was a housekeeper. She did not have a formal education after about 8th grade. And so this is a woman who was very independent, very financially independent. Even though she didn't make much, she saved her money, and she was very wise about her spending. And so she instilled in my mother a sense of independence, resilience, being able to take care of yourself, but still, caring for others. And my mother raised me that way too. She raised me to be independent. She raised me to be thoughtful. She raised me to care about the world. I remembered going to rallies with her when I was a child, very young, and I don't even remember all of the topics of those rallies, but it was all typically about some injustice that was going on and fighting against injustice and showing up. And the thing I remembered is that we would meet people of all different races coming from different countries, different parts of the world. And she taught me to always embrace people and find those commonalities. And I appreciate her for that, because as I have gotten older and being in public service, I don't look like everyone. I don't sound like everyone. I don't eat the same foods as everyone, but I do see everyone as human, and I try to connect with people on that human level. So that is the values I was raised with. My parents, my grandparents, that's who made me who I am today. And I am a pretty strong, independent leader because of my strong foundation.
Thank you for explaining kind of where your background tethers from. I myself am a humanitarian. I believe that as we work to impact the community collective, true success is defined by what doors we can open for others who may
Yes.
not be able to open them for yourselves. And we've seen that in your leadership as the state attorney. I want to kind of shift more into the governance piece, right? Because it's understanding that the county executive is a government role. And leadership within that type of role requires adaptation. And I want to understand kind of what is your vision for what your role will look like as county executive transitioning from the role of state's attorney?
Well, that's a very good question. So let me just say that we are in unprecedented times right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And when I assume this role, and I'm speaking it into existence,
Yeah.
county executive, the first thing I have to do is give people a sense of, uh, calm, because right now there's such turbulence going on. And in order for us to really make good, sound decisions, we have to come from a place of power, of understanding, of, we have to just come from a place um, of not chaos, which is what we see unfortunately around us.
Yes.
So you have to have have those who you are going to be representing have confidence in you. And so you do have to somewhat, kind of push back the noise and really focus on the goals. There's a lot that we can do here locally.
Mhm.
And we have to make sure that our residents understand that their government is not the federal government. The
Right.
federal government will impact what happens here because we have over 30,000 federal workers here. We have government contractors. We have government grant recipients here. So there will be, um, impacts. However, we are going to work hard with our Governor Wes Moore, as well as our state legislature to ensure that we have emergency funding for those who may be impacted by what's happening at the federal level. We will also be focusing on taking care of those who are displaced
Mhm.
uh, through repositioning them, many of them in state and local governments, as well as helping them to, retool and retrain so that they can enter potentially the private sector. So there are some issues, obviously, that we are going to have to face immediately.
Right.
So whoever's coming in now is not just coming in saying, okay, now I'm going to rework government. I'm going to set my budget priorities. No, those priorities are actually already going to be set by the acting county executive. Now we have to talk about, like, how do we ensure that our government dollars are being spent efficiently and effectively. Let's make sure that those projects that have been started under the prior administration actually we finish them.
Right.
This is not a time for ego to talk about what I'm going to do. It's really talking about how do we move forward. And I
Yes.
think that's going to be sort of the mindset that I have coming in.
That's fantastic. And that kind of that's one of the things that I think a lot of Prince George's County residents are looking for a change in the way that our leadership leads with their needs and their intentions and what their vision for their families looks like, rather than more leadership coming in with their own personal ambitions and intentions moving into this next iteration. I want to speak a little bit more about the budget, right?
Yeah,
I know you're well versed in this. You've done your research. Everybody knows the statistics. We all know there's a deficit within the state. We all know that federal dollars are looking a little bit different these days. Um, what is your plan, or what is your intention to work with the governor and with our state legislators and with our various representatives to understand, like, how do we close this gap? How do we keep things going? How do we keep the lights on despite what's happening in the White House?
absolutely. Well, let's talk about things we cannot do. We cannot raise property taxes because we will lose population. We've already lost residents to neighboring jurisdictions because our high property taxes. At the same time, we have high property taxes. We also are seeing a rise in things like utilities and groceries and basic needs. So we have to just say that up front. We are not going to raise property taxes, but what we can do is work with the legislature to look at other proposals. I think they're considering a proposal now to raise 500 million through putting a slight increase on sugary beverages. There may be other proposals. I think iGaming and other proposals that the legislature is considering now that raises revenues. But one of the best ways for us to raise revenues, honestly, is to invest in our small businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to say that Prince George's County, and this is not to critique anyone, it's just to state facts. We don't utilize the services of our local businesses the way that we should. And
Right.
while I can't control what the federal government does, I can't really even control what the state government does, but I have a great partner there in Westmore.
Yeah.
I can absolutely control how we spend here in Prince George's County our tax dollars.
Mhm.
We have so many companies right here who are doing work in other jurisdictions, but somehow can't get in the door here in Prince George's County. That comes to an end under my leadership because when we spend, and I always say this, it is good business to do business with the businesses here in Prince George's
Right.
County.
Yes.
And the reason why isn't just because it's the right thing to do, but it's because we get the trickle down effect of every dollar spent. So if a business here located in Prince George's County grows, that means our business tax base grows, our income tax base grows, our employment tax base grows. Everything grows when we invest locally. In fact, those individuals who are going to do better because now their companies are growing, guess what? They're going to buy even bigger homes. So we've got the opportunity to get transfer and recordation fees off of purchases of new homes. And obviously, if you have a larger home, you're going to pay a little bit more in property tax. So everything grows when we invest locally. And I don't think that we've really truly adopted and embraced that concept in the past, but that will absolutely and unapologetically be how my government grows the local economy.
That's fantastic. I think the small business owners are looking to the left and to the right for, okay, what happens to us next? What do those resources look like? What does this partnership with our government look like? And I think that that's a fantastic reach into what's happening within our community right now. Um, Leadership, I think, and you've demonstrated this in your roles and your years and tenures here within the county. It requires community engagement, and sometimes folks within the community might look at your title as state's attorney and look at your work within the criminal system and may not understand what that looks like from the background. So I want to kind of speak to those individuals now who might have a little bit of apprehension as far as your title as state's attorney translates into Prince George's County executive. How will you partner now with the community, with your state's attorney background, with your background within the legal space? How will that translate to your new role as Prince George's County executive, dealing with our community members?
Well, let me just say, can I start a little bit, but even before I
Yes,
became a
yes.
attorney?
Back.
So my background is actually in primarily in real estate and development. So yes, I have been state's attorney for the past 6 years, and it has been honestly the joy of my life. I have really enjoyed managing the office, working with the community, and getting justice. So I love this job. But before that, I worked for county government. I actually ran the real estate department for our county government, where I did acquisitions, all the sales, as well as the leasing. Um, when I was council liaison, I actually worked to ensure that the county council would support bond financing for major projects like National Harbor, like Woodmore Town Center. And then when I left county government, I worked for the Anacostia Waterfront Corporation, which built the Southwest Waterfront in DC. And if you can see that very vibrant mixed use community that's going on down there, it was the first time I had ever reviewed what's called slip licenses, and those are for the boats there in the harbor there on the Anacostia. So I was there from the ground level looking at how we were going to build this massive development, which is booming and thriving now. And then I also worked for Children's Hospital. And as a manager at Children's Hospital, I brought the outpatient center that is now located at Woodmore Town Center to our county because I wanted to make sure that we located that facility in a place that was growing in our county. And the leadership at the hospital trusted me to make that decision. And I worked also to ensure that we were able to get a certificate of need so that we could offer some outpatient surgery also at that facility.
Wow.
So, so I just wanted to make sure that people understand that I have a diverse background, but they know me probably best right now as their state's attorney because I have been able to get justice on so many high profile cases. I have been able to get justice with so many cases they never knew about.
Right.
I'm in the community a lot. I have given people second chances, which I'm also proud of because the justice system is about holding people accountable, but it's also about compassion and mercy. I am a Christian. I just want to put that up front. And I believe that redemption is real, not because I say so, but because my God says so. And as a result, I have always operated from that mindset where, yes, I do believe, and I believe the Bible also says that we do have to hold those accountable. I mean, our criminal justice system is actually based on the principles of the Ten Commandments. Um, Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not bear false witness. I mean, all of these things, all of the criminal code is really based loosely in some respects on all of these basic principles. And so we can't just take those principles and say we're going to apply those and not apply the principles of redemption. And so that's how I look at my role in the justice system. As Lady Justice, you got to balance all of these things, and so I've been able to hold people accountable, get a lot of time for people who have committed very serious offenses, but I've also looked at people who have served their time, who have become different people, and we have over 80 who we have uh, brought back home very early. Some were juvenile lifers, some had life sentences, who were not juveniles at the time of the offense, but had life sentences, but had spent 20, 30 plus years in prison and were different people. And I was not afraid to say, let's give them a second chance. And I hired people who deserved a second chance in my office because I also believed it was important to lead by example. I can't ask a business or another agency to do something that I am not willing to do. And you know what? Initially, when I did that, there was some controversy. But guess what? Since then, other individuals who were similarly situated to the people who I have hired have gotten hired in county government and in the private sector. So I don't mind taking those hits if I know it's the right thing to do. And the results have been that we have people now working in county government who, yes, may have records, but they're absolutely committed to the goals and objectives of our county government and our quality employees of county government.
Yes, ma'am. That's fantastic. And your record reigns true. I'm a huge advocate for second and third chances and
Yes.
for bringing our re-emerging citizens back into the fold actively.
Oh, I like that, reemerging. I'm gonna use that, Kayla. Can I use that one? Reemerging? I like it.
Yes.
I like
All
it.
these terms and colloquialisms, they are people and they deserve seconds and third chances. So I'm certainly in alignment with your vision there, ma'am. For sure.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a question in tandem with what you said about accountability, right? Um, how will you hold leadership within our county accountable to their roles?
Yeah, I mean, look, we, as county executive, I will be responsible for overseeing several departments and agencies and boards and commissions. But I'll also have to work collaboratively with other elected officials. And so, what that means is that as the county executive, I'm going to have to set the tone of collaborative leadership. I can't tell other elected officials how to do their jobs, but what I can do is create a vision that we can all buy into. And then we can collaboratively figure out how does their role, how does their title, uh, how can they then best serve that vision? If you have a collaborative vision, then other people will, I think, uh, want to work towards similar goals. So I think as county executive, your job is to set the tone, be the cheerleader, be the coach, be the motivator, but also allow people to bring their own talents, their own thoughts to the table as well. You know, as county executive, I will be responsible for a host of departments and offices and boards and commissions, but I'll also be responsible for bringing the county leadership together. Now, I can't control other elected officials, but what I can do is set a vision and a tone of collaborative leadership, which is, I think, what is missing here in the county. Everyone kind of works in their own silos, and there's not this communication that needs to take place, even between our council and our county executive. But there are other elected leaders here who have a stake, have a say so, and honestly have a lot of good ideas and talents. And that's our state legislators, as well as our municipal officials. You know, about 30% of our county lives within a municipality. And so that's a pretty significant part of our population. And we need to work more collaboratively with our municipal leadership to make sure that they are successful too and that they understand the vision of the county. We also need to know what their visions are, you know, too, because, you know, when you live within a municipality, yes, you have certain responsibilities and there's certain roles that those municipalities have in terms of public safety and trash collection and things like that. But when it comes to development, they rely so heavily on the investments being made by the county government. So we have to collaborate more, unify more, have a shared vision that we can work towards. So that's what I'll bring to this role. And the good news is, I've done that in the past. You know, that's how I've always operated. I understand how to get things done, and I understand that you can't get it done alone. One of the things I learned in the legislature is that you have to negotiate with folks. You have to talk to people. You have to express your idea and your vision for whatever piece of legislation you're trying to move forward. Otherwise, guess what? You're going to get a no vote, right? So you have so it forces you, in a sense, to be more collaborative in how in your style, and I think that's a good thing. So I think the legislature is a good training ground, honestly, for collaborative leadership. And I've had that experience now as state's attorney. I've been able to get a lot done without having sort of the power of the purse. The way I do it is by collaborating with the executive, with the council, with our governor. And our governor, Westmore, if I can't just brag on our governor, he is a really great leader and he's very collaborative as well. And I can tell you, I've gone to him with ideas and he's funded them, he's supported them. And, you know, as county executive, I don't have to have all the ideas, right? I want people to feel like they can come to me and put forward their ideas, their thoughts. And if I am in agreement, if we can come to some understanding, then I'll be in a position to help fund those ideas and make it happen. So, you know, I'm just excited. I'm ready to get started, but I got to finish this race though. But I really, I think I'll be really good at this job.
You will too, honestly. And I think that what you're saying as far as tapping into what the community already offers is what's key in this role. To whoever fills the seat within the county executive space, it's important to tap into the resources and the wealth of what we already have within our community already. I have a unique question for you, and I just thought of this as you were talking. Okay. So the people know that I didn't prep State's Attorney Braveboy with this. But what are some things that you think that your constituents can do even now, right, in this uncertain times? What are some things that we can do to better reach out to or partner with or share our ideas and needs with our local government? What can we do other than just sending emails or showing up to events? How can we really propel our voices forward in collaboration?
I think one of the things is just providing honestly written proposals, because sometimes I meet people and they have really great ideas and they're talking a mile a minute because they're trying to get their idea out. And it's a really great idea, but we hear a lot of great ideas. I need to understand what your vision is, how you're going to get there, what your capacity is, and so and how best we could partner with you. So I think having written proposals is really important. And then honestly, if you can collaborate with others, because there's so many people who want to do good things, the more joint ventures and partnerships we can develop in our county is, to me, the better. Just like as hopefully the next county executive, I won't have all of the great ideas and I can't do everything on my own. That's the same, I think, uh, frame of mind that our residents have to have. Look for those in your community who have similar ideas or goals, or if there are existing organizations, partner with them. There are a lot of startup nonprofits, which is nothing wrong with that. But there are a lot of folks who've been around for a while with a track record. And so we want to make sure that whatever we're funding, whatever we're doing actually is effective. So the best way, I think, for us to all contribute is to partner with one another and then come to the government with a real proposal that we can really begin to look at seriously.
Thank you for that. That's good for the people to know and to act on. Certainly. I want to ask you this as we're kind of looking towards the future, right? You've done so much along your career,
Mhm.
aspiring to this new role. You have so many ideas and so many things that you want to do. What do you want your legacy to look like?
You know what? I want uh, people to say uh, that the county executive Brave Boy grew wealth here in Prince George's County, that we saw more millionaires and people who were able to grow their businesses, expand job opportunities, that our tax base grew because our business and our commercial tax grew. That's what I really want my legacy to be. Because what I do know is that when our economy is doing better, when every part of our county sees hope and opportunity, that we'll see less crime, that we'll see greater achievement from our students. We'll see a better quality of life for everyone, including our super fabulous seniors who, in so many ways, are just cheering us on, hoping for us, because they've lived their lives and they're in their twilight years. And I had one of our wonderful community leaders from the central part of the county
Mhm.
say, I have something for you. And she gave me a contribution of $25.
Oh, wow.
And it meant so much to me because I know that she's on a fixed income. I know that she knows that I've known her forever and I'll always come out to her meetings and be supportive of the things they want to do. But she wanted me to know that she believed in me too. And so that meant a lot because there are these folks watching and hoping. And even if it's not going to apply to them, if it's going to apply to their children, their grandchildren, or people who they don't even know, they just want a better Prince George's County. And so I feel very obligated to those individuals to make a difference.
Thank you. And you have made a difference. And
Thank you.
I think people need to see this side of who Aisha Braveboy, the humanitarian, looks like and how she really cares about her community. So, as we close the interview, I just want to ask, from your perspective as Aisha Braveboy, the person, what would you say to residents who are just really afraid right now? They're fearful. They're trying to understand what their future is going to look like under this new administration. They want to have somebody that they can trust with their vote, trust with their money, trust with their servanthood and with the service in their community. What is your last words to these individuals as we prepare to vote in the upcoming special election?
That I'm just like you. I understand. I grew up here in this county. I went to Largo High School. I am rooted in this community. I've had struggles too. Life hasn't been perfect for me. I've worked hard. I haven't always achieved everything I wanted. And I've had people help me too. And so I'm not going to look at people who are struggling as people who I don't understand. I've struggled myself at times. And so what you'll have in me is a leader who's going to look to help ease those struggles. That I will work every day to ensure that homes aren't lost, that lives aren't upended, that we have created an opportunity for people to reposition themselves in the workforce, to go out and strike out on their own if they want to become entrepreneurs. That I understand that it's going to take a multifaceted approach to address the issues that we're seeing ourselves in right now. But that I'm also someone who's going to be focused on improving the future, that we understand how important it is to get it right at the federal level, that we have 2 years when we could make a real difference in these midterm elections. So in addition to the work I'll do at home, I'll be working at the national level to help elect people in Congress who will carry the values of Prince George's County with them. They may not represent the county, but they represent the values of our county. This is the first administration that I know of in my lifetime that absolutely believes, or at least the values seem to be, that not everyone should have access to the American dream. I've never seen that. I've never seen it articulated in the way that clearly it's being articulated now. And while we may have differences as Democrats, as Republicans, as conservatives, as moderates, there has always been this commonality that the American dream should apply to everyone. And if you work hard, you should be able to achieve it.
Right.
But that absolutely is not the philosophy of this administration. And it is a little scary. But what we do know is that it's not American. This is not an American value. And so what we do know is that we have to resist. That's why we're resisting, as you see members of my legal community resisting through our courts and our judges being in so many ways our saving graces. We have a couple of years to get ourselves together, lick our wounds, and get this right. I do believe that we will see changes in a couple of years. And I absolutely believe that after 4 years of dealing with what is the Billionaires Boys Club, that the American people will have had enough, and we will come back to the center again and come up with leadership that's more reflective of the values of Americans. I'm not talking about Democrats or Republicans, I'm talking about Americans. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We need to hear that. And that's the type of leadership that we need right here in Prince George's County.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, State's Attorney Braveboy, for joining us on this show right here on Bowie TV. Our show is syndicated online, but it's also here in our local network here within the county. Folks have the opportunity to understand what you bring to the table as they step into the voting booth in the upcoming special election. Best of luck to you. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
I appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. Until next time, folks, signing off.
Thank you so much for joining me for another extraordinary conversation today on The Kayla Evans Show. I invite you to stay engaged with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at The Kayla Evans Show on all social media and podcast platforms. More love, more life, more blessings. Until we meet again.
This election season, the Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV brings you up close and personal with Prince George's County executive candidates. It's more than politics. We're diving into their stories, passions, and visions for our community. Tune in daily on Bowie TV local channels and YouTube, and on the Kayla Evans Show YouTube channel. The special election is March 4th. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Kayla Evans Show. This platform is uniquely designed to educate and empower individuals of all walks of life as we converse with experts of various industries. These intellectual conversations are designed to inspire and uplift members of our culture and society, collectively gaining knowledge and information dedicated to our human experience. Let's get into it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Kayla Evans Show here on Bowie TV. I'm your host, Kayla Evans, and today we're continuing our PG County Executive Forum series. We're diving deep into the race for the Prince George's County Executive in the upcoming special election. Our guest today is Albert Slocum, a candidate with a unique background in finance, community service, and a strong commitment to improving the lives of residents here in Prince George's County. Albert has spent his career advocating for financial transparency, creating opportunities for our youth, and serving his community. Today, we'll explore his vision for the future of the county, his approach to addressing the challenges we face, and his plans for balancing economic growth with equity and inclusion. Let's discuss these important issues and more with Mr. Albert Slocum this evening. Welcome to the show, Mr. Slocum. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, and hope all is well with everyone here. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
So one of the things that I like to do on the show is to make it things a little bit more relaxed for folks to be able to just understand humanity first. Before we get into titles and positions and accolades, I like to understand who individuals are as individuals themselves. So do you want to, I gave your background, but do you want to give folks just a quick intro to who you are as Albert Slocum himself?
Yes, absolutely. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. For those of you who are familiar with Bridgeport, it's outside of New York, about 45 minutes. And I'm the youngest of 10 children.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Five of us brothers and five sisters. So 3 are no longer with us today, unfortunately, due to circumstances that we all go through on a day-to-day basis regarding life and just things that happen in our communities. I grew up in affordable housing, which we call the projects, and that was pretty tough, very tough. Being the youngest of 10, you're thinking you're in good hands with your bigger brothers and sisters, but they're actually preparing you for life. They're not coddling you. They're kind of like toughing you up, right? So you can handle the ups and downs, as you go through life, especially as we call the hood. I became an activist at the early age of 13. My mother actually inspired me. She's always been very involved in the community and just trying to bring about real change in the community based on her circumstances, trying to raise, a large family like ours.
Absolutely.
And exactly. And, she did her best. She did her best. And my older brothers, they worked to earn a living at a very young age. And that's where I got those habits, those good work habits, practices, and early on in life, as far as working at an early age. And I started work around 12 or 13, by the way.
Wow.
I started, yes, and I tutored youth individuals, students my age or older. And I loved it because I was able to have real talk with them. I'm a part of the public school system. I grew up going to grammar school, public schools, junior high, then high school. I attended Buller Havens Regional Vocational Technical High School, which is a what we call here trade school, and took up carpentry. I loved it. I saw the love for development at an early age, construction, and I took on a couple of years, building, like actually building properties, and learned a lot. There was, a lot of takeaway with that as far as how people lived compared to those who lived in projects and affordable housing. So that inspired me to move on. I didn't want to do that too long. Instead, I wanted to have like a white collar job, and get the education, further my education. So I went to Howard University, studied finance, and from there I took on other roles within the community as far as food drives and things of that nature, because again, it tied to my experiences and what I've done, and how we lived, and the limited resources that we had. So I didn't want others to have a lack of those type of resources. I wanted to actually give back to my community, and that was in Washington D.C. So I lived in Washington D.C. for several years and worked in various roles in corporate America, from property, hotel, motel management to
Mhm.
managing a large staff, of managers, directors, supervisors, and I loved it. We were actually building a portfolio, a real estate asset portfolio, and making that actually profitable for the stakeholders. As I moved on with my career, I began to get into the financial arena where it was banking, lending, commercial, retail, and started early on as far as insurance. I helped thousands of people as far as financial literacy, financial education. From there, I worked in various industries, including marketing, sales, production management, mutual funds and securities, where I helped individuals get ready for retirement, managed about a third of $1 billion in assets. And that gave me the opportunity to become more engaged with the community, shaking hands, talking to people. And when I had that kind of interaction with individuals, as far as young to seniors, I started hearing their stories and didn't know, but that led to my interest and desire to want to know more about what people in the communities were thinking and what they wanted to have a better quality of life. So my political advocacy began at that
Mhm.
stint, and I basically took off from that there, and just getting more and more involved and knocking on doors just for the love of it, and it was part of my community reinvestment initiative as well, for the companies that I for. We were giving back to those communities that were underprivileged and underserved, and I've done that for a number of years. So all in all, I worked in corporate America for about 30 years, and I then went on to pursue my human resource development degree, Master of Arts, at Bowie State University. Um, Bulldog Nations, woohoo, right?
Go Bulldogs. Come on, Bowie State.
you know, and I loved it at Bowie. I saw the energy, I saw the brilliance as far as the young minds, and I said, wait a minute, we have some serious human capital resources here. What can I do to tap into this? So I started
Absolutely.
building exactly, those relationships, and while doing so, I started my own company. My own business was a consulting company, helping out local small businesses as well as other companies throughout different regions of the state, and provided, acted as a person to go to if they needed any compensation and benefits, advisory services, and if they needed help as far as making decisions from a hiring to a firing or training perspective. I also did something with the county, as far as a piloted initiative in training and development for their senior level management company, for their senior management department in the county. So I love that as well. It was very interesting. And from there, I ran for county council back in 2018, and we had a wonderful experience again, connecting with people in the communities, and mainly the seniors and youths, and just kind of seeing the different opportunities that were available at their disposal. I felt like there wasn't enough of that, and that also led me to start digging deeper into like what kind of programs we can actually implement that would help help individuals have a better quality of life. I mean, people were, and this is real talk, they were struggling as far as putting food on the table.
Mhm.
Many people were unemployed, and those that were in school, getting their education, their master's degree, they were having a hard time finding jobs, and I couldn't put my finger on that as to why, because we're here in a predominantly black county, Prince George's County, and people still are having a hard time finding employment, at least you know employment that was sustainable, that would help them pay the bills. So fast forward, I decided, okay, what else can I do for the county that would have a strong impact on the people in the community? And as
Right.
I
Hence why you decided to run for Prince George's County Executive at this particular time.
at this point here, it led me to that because the development aspect of it was really a core piece. In development, actually didn't make common sense to me, and I needed to know why. So
When
I
you say
decided,
the development didn't make sense, what do you mean?
there's a lot of hearsay as far as overdevelopment. So I want to know what that meant. And because I didn't see a whole lot of overdevelopment, I saw development that did not fit the aesthetics of the community
Okay.
as far as helping that community thrive and without displacing the current residents in that community. So I wanted to learn more about that. And I decided to go to NYU and get my Master of Science in Real Estate Development. Learn that, have some projects that I was so happy to, just be involved in New York, part of my curriculum. And I'm still learning, and felt like, hey, I can translate um, that educational experience here to the county some years
Absolutely.
later. Yes.
Now, I want to, since understanding your background in financial stewardship and economic growth and development from the business perspective, a lot of residents here in Prince George's County, understanding that there is a strong presence of affluent Black residents as well, feel as if there's untapped economic potential here, and this area isn't getting enough fair share of business investment compared to neighboring jurisdictions. Um, if elected, how would you help to change that dynamic? What would that look like?
Well, with the current client as we know it, it is what it is. We're not going to be able to change it. I think that as your next county executive, we first and foremost need to get a handle on our local economy, our local um, workforce development. And I think supporting the local businesses and giving them the resources like funding, or from a lending standpoint, 0% interest on loans where they can pay that back over time. Giving them also tax benefits, or incentivized economic incentivized taxation on their the revenue that they earn, but after the first 5 years, just kind of giving them some opportunity to grow and build up their business so that they can have a sustainable um, force in the local economy here in Prince George's County. I think that local businesses can, and they are the heart of the county local economy, and
Absolutely.
they can add value as far as hiring our our residents. And I call first right of refusal to the residents. Instead of them finding jobs outside of the county, why not work here? So that's one thing that I would do. The other thing is to support our government at the county level in a sense of creating other viable options where we can have proprietary services or products and generate revenue with that. And we can then hire hundreds, maybe thousands of new employees and opening up other initiatives, other departments within the county, and that should be self-sustainable. It's kind of like using the United States Patent and Trade Office.
Okay.
They're pretty much self-generated, right? They generate their own revenue, and then from that they're able to pay for the salaries and wages and compensation benefits. I think we need to have something here in the county, and then
That's
lastly
fantastic. Hmm.
get our communities involved, our fellow neighbors, and really kind of sit down at the table, bring them to the table with their ideas and innovation, and then collaborate on ways that we can pull those ideas and implement them with viable solutions.
That's fantastic. And kind of on that same trajectory, understanding where the money is coming into the county and flowing out of. Everyone's talking about the budget, right? Everyone's talking about the deficit in the state budget. And from your financial lens, where do you see the most wasteful spending right now in the county's budget, and how will you ensure that taxpayer dollars are utilized more efficiently?
Okay, great question. The majority are the funds are going into education, about $3 billion going into that, and then public safety. I think that not to say put a cap on any of that there. I think we need to spend more money in those areas only because we need to identify the source of spending and allocate it where it's going to have a domino effect as far as improving the educational system, for example. Now, $3 billion, I mean, it's a lot of money. And yet we still have challenges within our educational system. I don't think that we're utilizing the funds where they should be. I think they're going somewhere else, or the monies are just not utilized in a smart way, and we're not getting to the root cause of why we're struggling and at the educational level. I think the students there could definitely use better resources as far as world class um, resources, state of the art resources. I think building the schools, that's a great thing, but I don't think we should start from scratch. I don't think that money is going in a place where it's being best used by building from scratch and then creating a new building. I think right now, because of the deficit that we're in, which is over $171 million, we need to reconstruct these buildings, and these buildings that are vacant, underperforming, we need to
Okay.
reconstruct them and then utilize that money in that sense there. So we'll save millions of dollars and then look at other ways where the school system is suffering and then come up with viable solutions to help.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like we're utilizing what we already have within the county to restructure and reframework from the inside out.
That's right.
I want to connect it back to your original statement when you were talking about your background and growing up where you grew up in affordable housing. That's a growing concern everywhere, but also here within Prince George's County. How do you plan to balance economic development and growth while still ensuring that longtime residents aren't priced out of their existing communities?
Well, you know, um, cost of living
Mhm.
is an issue across the country. Here in Prince George's County, it doesn't have to be that. There are areas where we can create affordable living, quality, smart living. But the question becomes, what does that mean to the people who we're actually making it available to, right? So affordable, you're making six figures and you can afford, $600,000 home. Well, that may be affordable for people making six figures or more. But what about the people who are making below the poverty line
Mhm.
or who are the working class poor? How can we create affordable housing with that? So to that point, we need to be creative as far as cutting our costs down from a building construction standpoint and come up with modular and sustainable green development, which cuts our costs and time down so we can build a significant amount of space for people who are living below the poverty line or who are making a certain amount of income, but not quite enough to afford the
Mhm.
high end pricing of sales of homes. The other aspect is we need legislation. So I will work with the county council to propose a bill that will prevent homes from being sold at an astronomical amount. Now, I'm a real estate licensee as well, and I understand how the marketing is, and how the builders actually astronomically price out the cost of these homes, and they're really not affordable for everyone. So,
Right.
in order for that to happen, I think we need to improve how there's a ceiling on how much those homes can be sold for, and lastly, bring in developers with common sense that are nonprofit or not for profit developers, and allow them to start creating, building, designing, and having that vision. Give them, the opportunity to help Prince George's County become strong in that economic era that we're in now, where we need it the most as far as significant space that's affordable for everyone.
Absolutely. That sounds like reasonable development, as I'd like to call it, to where we're not pricing people out of where they are in their particular community. Um, I want to pivot a little bit more now and talk a little bit more about public safety. You said that's one of your priorities alongside um, talking about education. Public safety is a big deal to our residents here in Prince George's County.
That's right.
Crime, in particularly youth crime, is a major concern for voters, as we know. And beyond policing, what community driven strategies would you implement to address this root cause of crime?
Well, we all know that youth crime is on the up and up, right? There is higher with the ghost guns, having access to those type of, materials that they can build anywhere. And with 3D design and printing, you can actually, have your own homemade gun made at home if you have the right equipment, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
So I believe that our public safety and the community need to work together, and the parents do as well as the school. Like, we all need to be in this together and really putting our heads together as far as like just keeping a sharp eye on our youths. That's number one, making sure that they're not doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and observing their behavior, observing who they hang out with, their patterns, right? Just kind of policing at home as well as the public safety policing outside of the home. Number two, I think that with our youth crime being at the level where it is now, and other crimes amongst adults and domestic violence, but more so these violent crimes,
Mhm.
I think that we need to ask ourselves a question. For instance, those crimes are related to like either homicide or suicide, or are they more financial crimes in the sense of burglary? Okay.
Yes.
And if they are more economically related, then we need to get to the root cause. Everything's to the root cause, right? We need to figure out, okay, where's this coming from? And what can we do to solve that issue? Is it creating jobs? Is it creating training opportunities? Is it creating a vocational technical um, institution for high schoolers as well as for adults, after school programs, or night school for adults to get further training so they can do better, right? Because if we do better, then, we're able to be better, and we're able to live better, and we're not looking for ways to try to hustle or make an extra dollar and live that life of crime. The other aspect is that we need to figure out programs that are conducive for every child across the board, because every
That's right.
child is not wired the same way.
That's
Let's be
right.
real, right? We may have, like, the arts for certain type of students. We may have academically inclined programs for, your high, rollers, as far as, those with higher GPAs, but not everyone's going to get the GPA. So we need to find something that's more conducive. Now, I've seen a lot of graffiti out there, and in my opinion, instead of chastising that behavior, we need to complement the behavior and
That's
just
right.
use a different vacuum for it and redirect that energy to something that they may want to, be transparent with, right? Use their arts, development, their ability to draw and graffiti, and let them express it in a portal or platform on a platform that's conducive, and they get the attention that they are actually looking to get, to
Absolutely.
affirm their skills, right? So we need things that are going to make sense to these students to keep them off the streets, to keep them engaged. Now, many of the youths are exploited. We know that. Okay, there's human trafficking, but then there's also exploitation of our children, and look, folks are using them because they're vulnerable. They're desperate. They want to be a part of a family. They want that belongingness, right? Or they want to earn some extra money so they can do the basic things in life. So we need to basically head that off and be that front line and be there for them. And by doing so, I think that that will help reduce the crime. And we can also say honestly that it will help the police, the public safety, as far as do their job, because it commensurates with, you know, helping the community at
Right.
large from a crime reduction standpoint.
That's right. Community accountability and community policing.
Right.
It starts at home. Prince George's County has had its share of political scandal and ethical concerns. And we've seen a certain type of politician over and over again. But if elected, what specific reforms would you implement to improve the transparency and rebuild public trust in our local government?
Great question. Great question. That's a question that I've thought about time after
Mhm.
time, and it doesn't come up often. But transparency, accountability, and performance, I call it TAP.
Okay.
TAP acronym, using that along with having integrity, character, and ethics. All those go hand in hand. I would definitely push for legislation to support those who you know if they've been in office, you know, playing musical chairs. I think we should at least limit that. So if you, for example, if you're at
Hmm.
the county council level and you served in one of the districts, but then you're going, for the council at large level, I don't
Yes.
think you should be able to do that. Once you're on a county council, you're on a county council. That's it. You know, if you want to be the chairwoman or chairman during your 2 terms, 8 years, do that in the interim. But once you serve 2 terms consecutively, that's it. You're done. You move on to something else instead of playing musical chairs in the county. The other thing is that, um,
Absolutely.
thank you. And we can't. I don't know specifically why people do what they do, but when you follow the money, everything has some sort of story, right? It's consistent
Yes,
to
it
all these
is.
scandals when it comes to money, 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 right? Maybe people are mismanaging their money, but the county council and county executive make good money. And you're making that kind of money and you're not managing your monies. You're not making sound decisions with your finances, and you're using taxpayers dollars. That's obvious. You're going to get in trouble. But the question is why? Why are you doing that? Accountability in that sense, as far as training and some form of financial education, should be a requirement, should be mandatory, and continuing education for every council member, even county executive, just to make sure that you have the right acumen, you have the right emotional intelligence, or
Mhm.
you have the right motives, um, because you're representing the public. What you have done personally in your personal time, what have you, I get that. We're all not perfect, right? We all have things coming out of our closets, but when you take on that role and you use taxpayers' monies or you abuse your power, that becomes a problem. And you have to separate your situation from the role as county executive or county council.
Absolutely. So I want to stay here on this accountability and ethics train because that's very important to me as an informed voter, and seeing the musical chairs number that's been happening a lot amidst these various special elections over the past couple of years. How will you ensure that as a member of county leadership, in that spirit of accountability, of transparency, that you remain accessible to everyday residents, not just in special interest groups or in development spaces? As a primary resident here in the community, how will you remain accessible to residents and your constituents?
Well, I've always been hands-on, and I plan to continue being that way. I understand time is of the essence, and sometimes the role may tie up your opportunity to be accessible all the time the way that you want to. But what would help, um, in my style of leadership, is to get more engaged with the community, inviting the community to the table. Number one, not just developers or other politicians or community leaders, and edifying them, but the people of Prince George's County are what make the county what it is. And if we can strengthen those relationships by being more accessible, I think that the
Mhm.
county will obviously be better off, and people will take more pride and be prouder of the county. And if we give them reasons to be proud, like getting more people involved, being a part of Prince George's County by getting in where they fit in. That's number
That's
two.
right.
Get in where you fit in. Not strong arming people and just kind of like directing them in the direction that you think that you need to put them, but actually find out what their likes are, what their passions are, what they can actually bring to the table based on their education, their experience, and their passion. Number three is that visiting, as many communities as possible, going to and supporting many functions or events that these Prince Georgians and communities actually take pride in, that they're spending a whole lot of time, effort, and resources on. I think that we should honor that, and not leave them out there as if they're some kind of stepchild or stepchildren.
Right, right.
So those would be the top of my list there, as far as being more accessible and involved in the community. The other things, I know when I was growing up, in different areas of the East Coast, like Connecticut, and I had a short residency in Brooklyn, New York. We had summer league games, right? So involve the kids in that. Whether that's baseball. I know police athletic league has a baseball league, so kind of capitalize on that. But get the youth involved as well, and the parents will come. The parents will come. Now, if the parents are too busy and they have to work, I get that, because they have to make a living. So often enough, we talk about all these other issues, but we forgot about childcare, and we don't hear that as much. Since
You know?
COVID, hit the shores here, we stopped talking about it, but people still have that as a reality. And I think that if we help even subsidize childcare, then this will allow parents to be able to work and maybe make their schedule flexible enough where they can get engaged and involved in their children's extracurricular activities. And that's another way that we can actually get the community and the people of Prince George's County more involved.
Absolutely. Well, I want to speak more to what your legacy would look like should you be elected and people come out of this saying, wow, Mr. Slocum, as the Prince George's County executive, he really left his legacy. What would one major initiative or accomplishment be that you would want to leave behind that defines your legacy within the county?
Be united, be proud, be strong. Prince George's County, a place to be. And what that means to me is that I want everyone who either has lived here or want to live here to be a part of Prince George's County, because we are economically thriving, because we finally created a central business district
Mhm.
where larger companies can come in and help support, foster our growing educational system as well, and then creating tens and thousands of jobs, well paying jobs, along with supporting the local businesses as well, the local economy level. I want to be able to leave a legacy where Prince George's County will never be in the red, but we will stay in the black with financial stability, years to come, generations to come, and that people will be thriving in every community, all 9 districts. Now, if we look around, there are certain districts that are, they're booming, they're improving, they're developing, and then there are other districts that are really not doing too well, and they're just staying the same. They're not really growing economically, and a lot of folks are being displaced as a result of cost of living, right, rising. I want to be able to bridge that gap amongst all 9 districts where we're
Mhm.
working together cohesively, and financially, our fiscal year budget will reflect that strength, and we'll be so proud of that, that we would be an example for other counties and maybe
That's right.
even other states to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is fine. This is fantastic, sir. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
I want, as we get ready to close the interview, this is one question that I'm asking universally in these very unprecedented, uncertain times. And that is, in the spirit of community and humanity and compassion, what's something that you would leave here tonight with our audience base in just a spirit of hope and encouragement and upliftment, as we approach the special election and beyond?
Thank you for that question. It's near and dear to me to share with our viewers, with our fellow Prince Georgians, that we should not be entering this election in a divided way. We should be looking at this election as making a wise decision, not a decision based on popularity,
Mm.
based on who's endorsing the other candidates, or the mail the mailing ballots, right? Just looking at what's popular by name recognition. We should be entering this special election with discernment, with prayer,
Mm.
because whoever is the next county executive will have a whole lot on their hands and on their shoulders. And if they are not ready, they're not prepared, it can be chaotic, it can be catastrophic, it can be worse than where we are. And the handwriting's on the wall. We have a new administration. Presidential election was not what we ideally wanted to be, but this administration may not make things conducive for us to be able to live the way that we know now.
Right.
Things may be different. So this leader, the new elected county executive, has to be the one that knows how to work through the storm, right? And really understand what kind of decisions to make in a fast-paced environment as well as under pressure. Now, when it comes to making informed decisions, calculated decisions, and delegating matters, as well as utilizing my team building and leadership skills, and bringing more people together, I would be that candidate. And I want everyone that's voting or has not voted or is on the fence and has not made up their mind, or they have made up their mind, there's still time to make a decision, to change your decision, to consider that leader that will fight for you no matter what, that will stick it out, that will stay there, be the first and the last, the first to arrive and the last to leave, and will not leave anyone hanging where we're just kind of doing our own little thing now, and we're separated, we're divided. Because ultimately, people need to understand which candidate will bring people together. People do talk and they do, say things, but action and performance, past performance, okay, those individuals that have already been in office and they're moving to another office, musical chairs, ask yourself, what have they done lately?
That's
And
right.
what they've done lately, how has that helped you out? And if they win the elected seat, then what does that mean for everyone else?
That's right.
So I'm not a politician. I'm not connected or tied to any establishments. I'm for the people because I walked in your shoes and I understand and I empathize for seniors, youths, local businesses, uh, students, teachers, public safety, development, crime reduction. We can mention a number of things, but at the end of the day, I've been through that storm and I've gotten out of it and I can get out of it again. And as your next county executive, I can help the county not only get out of the deficit that it's in, but also stand firm against what's to come.
Mic drop. We're going to leave it right there, sir. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time and your engagement and for your transparency and authenticity tonight on this recording. Folks, this is Mr. Albert Slocum. He's here as he's running for PG County Executive. How can folks find you online and follow what you're doing on social media? We want to make sure that we have that available.
Sure. My website is albertslocum.com. You can find me on Facebook as Albert District 5 Slocum or Prince George's for Slocum. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Nextdoor and Twitter. But I'm mainly on Nextdoor, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Well, sir, best wishes to you. Good luck as we prepare for this upcoming special election. Folks, you have all the information you need to make these informed decisions moving into the voting booths. Until next time, thank you, family. Signing off, Kayla Evans.
Thank you so much for joining me for another extraordinary conversation today on The Kayla Evans Show. I invite you to stay engaged with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at The Kayla Evans Show on all social media and podcast platforms. More love, more life, more blessings. Until we meet again.
This election season, The Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV brings you up close and personal with Prince George's County executive candidates. It's more than politics. We're diving into their stories, passions, and visions for our community. Tune in daily on Bowie TV local channels and YouTube, and on The Kayla Evans Show YouTube channel. The special election is March 4th. Let's get into it.
Welcome to The Kayla Evans Show. This platform is uniquely designed to educate and empower individuals of all walks of life as we converse with experts of various industries. These intellectual conversations are designed to inspire and uplift members of our culture and society, collectively gaining knowledge and information dedicated to our human experience. Let's get into it.
As a part of our Prince George's County Executive Candidate Forum, today I'm excited to sit down with Marcellus Cruz, a seasoned entrepreneur, innovator, and proud Upper Marlboro resident for over 38 years. As the managing director of Cruising Technologies, which he founded in 2009, Marcellus brings a tech-savvy, forward-thinking approach to his campaign for county executive. His vision? To transform Prince George's into a hub of innovation, economic growth, and educational excellence, drawing inspiration from tech powerhouses like Silicon Valley. With a commitment to putting Prince George's County first, he's here to share how he plans to revitalize our community, empower local businesses, and foster the next generation of leaders. Mr. Cruz, again, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
So I gave your background formally, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself on a personal level so folks can get to know who you really are?
All right. I always say this because that what I'm about to say is the starting point.
Okay.
Up until grade 4, I was a D and F student. I was an awkward kid. I did not know how to make friends. Kids picked on me. And so my parents were concerned. So my mom went to my fourth grade teacher, and that teacher poured into me. She made me learn Martin Luther King's speeches and put me in plays. And that just changed my life. And I became an A student in the fourth grade.
Wow.
And with that being the transformative moment in my life, I've been just giving back to young people ever since. I've taken young people all over the world, building homes, churches, and schools. Here in the States, we've helped raise $6.6 million for the homeless veterans. We've done bone marrow drives where we found 2 matches in the Black community. And we also do a lot of, health fairs, free screenings. And so I'm all about giving back.
That's fantastic. I want to know a little bit more about your heritage and your connection to Prince George's County itself as a resident, and how that impacts or influenced you to run for this particular position.
Good question. So actually, I grew up in elementary down in the South.
Okay.
My mom wanted me to attend a co-ed, the only co-ed, predominantly Black boarding academy in Pennsylvania. I didn't want to go, but I went.
Okay.
One home leave, I came home with my roommate who lived here in Maryland. And from there, I was hooked. I fell in love with Prince George's County. It was like a bigger Atlanta.
Okay.
And that's how I saw it. And surprising enough to me, my parents decided to move here, which was great because they could be closer to me. So that was the beginning of my love affair with the county. Back then, we were known as the #1 county in the country, when it came to people of color. And so it just it was like a badge of honor to be here. And when I would bring my friends, they would come and visit, I would drive them around and show them, look at this area. Don't think that this is, not people of color. These are people of color doing well.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that would be kind of where my mindset was back then. And just since then, I've just noticed that we have been in decline, and I can't sit back and just watch us go in decline anymore.
That's right. You decided to do something, and hence we're here today.
Exactly. We're always complaining, is this all the candidates that we have? Well, I decided to raise my hand and say, I'm going to come on board, and I'm going to show I'm not crazy. I'm level-headed.
Right.
No, I have not served in government, but that's the whole point. It's time for us to do something different, because we've been hiring people who've been serving, and quite frankly, you've seen their work before they got into another job. So why are you going to hire them for another job and you already know they're not going to bring the change that you're desiring?
That's a good point. And we need that innovative type of change. And one thing that piqued my interest in understanding more about your background is your affinity for technology.
Yes.
That's near and dear to my heart. I'm a cybersecurity SME, and that's my wheelhouse, is all in federal compliance and what's happening on the tech side of the house. So as the founder of Cruising Technologies, how do you envision innovation and leveraging your tech experience to streamline what's happening in the county, making government services or just government more efficient and accessible overall?
That's a really good question. So my company, we do all technology. So from building networks and servers, and help desks for embassies and small businesses, to audio visual. We're known for our conference rooms. We help the state in some of their conference rooms. as well as home theaters. That's one of our favorites. You can just talk to our home theaters. Smart products. We're just in all technology. I believe that it is time that we innovate and modernize. We can bring efficiency to government, and we can start getting back to people who have requests. You know, in our debates or forums, DPI keeps coming up. You know, one person said, I want to just dismantle it, you know, and then somebody else said, well, you know, we need to look at it from top to bottom. My thing is, let's just modernize it. I mean, it's just that simple. If we modernize it, we bring technology to it. I believe that we can quickly get there. And so what's cool about me is this is what I've been doing. I don't have to study it. You know, I don't have to write an executive order and say, everybody study and let's make sure we're using it effectively. No, I can pretty much sit down with each department and go over how we're going to implement it, and implement it we will, and we will become more efficient.
Okay. So when you say we're going to implement, we're going to make things more efficient, and understanding that technology costs money, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that particularly look like? Where would those dollars come from as we're innovating tech within government efficiency?
That's a good question. Now, I'm going to come from a business background to answer that question, because I can't really come from a government, only because I don't like how government functions.
Okay.
In business, and I would say in government, you have to go in the red sometimes to make money and get where you need to be. I plan to bring in millions of dollars in other sectors to pay for what I'm talking about. But initially, we're going to have to spend some money to bring that efficiency. You can't, you know, when you're between a rock and a hard place, you got to do something. And efficiency is more important than screaming, we don't have any money. So I believe that I have enough relationships where I can bring these things to bear at a better cost than others. That's number one. And then number two, I have some other ideas of things that I'm doing currently that the government can make a lot of money off of that will help get us out of this deficit.
Oh, tell us some of those ideas.
Oh, you want me to go into them?
Yeah, come on. That's what we're here to do. The people need to know how to vote. So tell us what the plans are.
All right. I'm being honest. I've been kind of, you know, because everybody starts stealing everybody's idea. I don't know if you've been to the forums, but that's what happens. You know, you say one thing and then that next thing they're off saying it. Right now, let's just start with some of the big tickets. Mm-hmm. We have projects that we've started and then we've stopped. And in a way, I'm glad we stopped them, because we build incorrectly here in Prince George's County. We don't have a good, healthy dose of urban and suburban living. And when I say urban living, I'm talking about where you're in your condo and you can come down in your flops and go to the coffee shop.
Okay.
Why is that important? I want to explain that to the audience. Because if we build that way, a lot of our businesses would feel, you know, those retail shops. And if they're filling those retail shops and they already have a clientele, guess what? Taxes. We're making more money. That's how it's done. Look at around the Nat Stadium, that hustle and bustle. Mm-hmm. That hustle and bustle is taking place whether there's a game or not.
That's true.
And so we have to build that way. When you look at the Commander Stadium, what's around it?
Nothing.
But a lot of our leaders say, oh, no, there's Woodmore, you know, up the street, you know, there's Largo. And I'm like, that is not building efficient or smart. We have the largest registered small businesses of any county. And our businesses are ready to go to work. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I was talking to the education, the teachers union today, and I was telling them, you know, because a lot of what I would like to do is probably going to, well, not probably, it's going to cost money. But I can bring a lot of private money to co-venture with the government and get a lot of stuff done. I want to bring small businesses to K through 12, like we do for sports.
Okay.
And I want to change the paradigm of how our kids look for a job. I don't want them to have to look for a job anymore. I want businesses looking for them.
Okay. That's huge.
Yeah, and we can do that. By the time they get in 9th or 10th grade, they already have several certifications. They already have experience, and they're already a professional. Because once you get a certification, you're a professional.
I
You
agree.
know,
Right.
so I just want to transform that, but I can bring money to that. Through our businesses who would want to partner with us. So does that kind of answer some of your questions?
It does. It does.
Okay.
We're going a little bit deeper in some of these interviews because I'm a resident here in Prince George's County, and I'm a voter. And I was telling one of our techs here at Bowie TV that it's important to me to understand who I'm voting for and ask the questions that I think a lot of my peers would want to know that we don't typically see, right? We've been seeing a lot of the same individuals in these positions.
Yes.
One of the issues that I've had is having trust in my local government. So understanding that you're a resident, you've been here, you've seen the changes, you've seen what needs to be done. Being in the forefront and being out in the community and actually impacting the change that people talk about, we want to see them walk the walk. So what would that look like from you? How would you build that trust with voters and constituents like myself here in Prince George's County?
Well, I think that when choosing a leader, you have to look at their character. I'm a people person. I love meeting people and getting to know people and building that type of trust. Just look at who's a candidate and see how comfortable they are with meeting you. There's some candidates right now, I'm like, they're uncomfortable with sitting around us. And so my point here is, I know that I have not been in the public sector, but in the private sector, most people will tell you, Marcellus Cruz, he's very charismatic. I love sitting down with people and talking policy. I'm not that candidate who's going to be pulled away because somebody wants to ask me a serious question. That's not me. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to chat with them. I grew up doing Bill Clinton's run, and I saw how he spent time with voters. And so that's just my MO. I want to chat with people. Why? Because how can I make something better if I'm not talking to the people?
That's right. That's right.
So my commitment is, one, you're going to have somebody who's going to be inspirational, to inspire our kids, to inspire government, to inspire a new vision here in Prince George's County. Two, we're going to rebrand.
Okay.
It's time to rebrand. We're no longer going to be the dumping ground and the crime county. We're going to rebrand, and I'm not going to take any mess from news agencies. We're gonna clean this stuff up. And then third, I'm gonna be accountable. I think it's important that we have somebody who's accountable. We have those tough town hall meetings. As a businessman, I've had to have tough meetings, right? So I'm used to it. I have thick skin. I'm ready to fight for us.
That's right. That's right. And as you've been here for some time, right? And you've understood kind of what your community looks like, specifically stemming from Upper Marlboro, what is one or a few specific issues in your immediate community and here in the county that you feel like has been perhaps overlooked by previous administrations that you want to tackle as you enter that particular seat?
Services.
Okay.
I put a video out about the snow, and that thing almost got 80,000 views just here in Prince George's County.
Mhm.
80, almost 80,000 views. Services. And then again, how we are building. This is insane. We're building community after community with gas stations in between, and I'm not going to start saying names right now
Okay.
because it's not their fault. It's who's doing these deals. I just feel like we have not done a good job for our citizenry at all. We have large communities, and then we've got a Royal Farms. I'll go ahead and say it because everybody knows it. We got a Royal Farms at the end of the block. I guess that's our grocery.
We have several. It's okay. These are facts. It's okay.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's our grocery store. We don't have a lot of fine dining here. We don't have the type of retail stores that I would like to see. And here's the cool thing about me. Being a businessman, I am in those circles.
Right.
Matter of fact, my company did work for the company that builds the Whole Foods.
Wow.
And they said to me, you get in, let's sit down and let's talk because we believe in you. I can bring a lot of those companies back here and I can bring down crime.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's go.
Let's talk about that.
All right, this is where I'm going to start because I want everybody to understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
75% of all inmates dropped out of school. That's a fact. 75% across the U.S. In the state of Maryland, it's actually higher than 75%. Okay? What does that tell you? That tells you when our kids drop out of school, they end up, 60% of them end up in prison. Now, last year, we had over 9% to drop out. The year before that was 8.5%. We're going in the wrong direction. Now, how do you keep a kid in school? How do you, spur some growth there where they realize their trajectory can be different? Well, it's what I'm talking about. We need a second pathway in our education system. Not everybody's going to go to college. And they want to connect the dots between what they like to do and what they can do.
Okay.
And so when you introduce entrepreneurship as that second pathway with certifications and apprenticeships, we have noticed kids stay in school. Mm-hmm. There's a organization called build.org I've partnered with, and they've been doing this for the last 25 years. Their graduation rate is at 96%.
Wow.
Okay. Our current graduation rate is 76%. Okay, that's a C.
Right.
My thing is our kids learn differently. And when you I've been doing this now for a while, so nobody has to tell me. My company's, we're in schools. So that's the unique thing about me. My company is in so many sectors that we need to change. And I've paid attention, and I'm intentional about everything that I do, that I become an expert. I can speak with the best. I just told you I spoke with the teachers union today. Mm-hmm. I know what I'm talking about. So my point here is a second pathway in our education system will stem the tide of dropouts, and that will bring down crime. My mission is to help people to find their purpose. When you find your purpose, it strengthens our community. And that's how we get this done.
Now, understanding the existing programs within Prince George's County School that exist for that right, to put students in a position to form a trade or to go in some type of other career pathway outside of the traditional college track. How will you work with the system, the Prince George's County public school system, in bringing these new programs or these new innovative ideas to facilitate what's already happening?
Good question. The county executive appoints the superintendent.
Right.
And my goal is going to say, not special schools, not one-offs. We're going to implement in all of our schools. Southern County, we're going to me, we can make the biggest gains in Southern County.
Okay.
It is time for us to have that second pathway in all of our schools, not some of our schools. And I want to change the name to Prepared Professional. I don't want it to be called trade. I don't want it to be called vocational school. It's Prepared Professional. Why? Because a prepared professional can be someone who, I don't know, you get your license to be a nurse assistant. You know, you can become a veterinarian technician. You know, you can become a dental hygienist, and you can get your cybersecurity. You know, when I talk about certifications, I mean across the board. And I mean from hair to, you know, whatever. The point here is it is time for us to become number one. Right now, we're number 23 in education, and there's only 24 counties.
Mm-hmm.
So people are leaving our county because our school system to them is not up to par. So we've got to turn this around immediately. And I believe that if we announce day one when I'm in, we have a second pathway called a Prepared Professional. And now businesses will come looking at our kids and giving them the experience that they need. All of a sudden, our education system will start looking good.
Okay. So we've talked about the students. We've talked about them being prepared professionals as they move into adulthood. Let's talk about the residents who are already in the workforce.
Yes.
So many of them, or many of us, I should say, some of us have tech backgrounds, some of us don't. Or some of us have formal and higher education, some of us don't. So understanding the full spectrum of what your constituency would look like, what concrete steps would you take within this role to upskill the current workforce and ensure that they're still a valued part of what this economic transformation would look like?
I love that. I love that question because right here in Prince George's County, we have all the ingredients to have a booming economy. We have quantum computing. We have bioscience right here. We have the Air Force Base. We have NASA. And I won't bring that up. My point here is it is time for us to use certification education. It is, to me, a big behemoth of an education system that we can retool a lot of our current adults who want to get out of that dead-end job and into another job for upward mobility. And we can do that. We can get people into these programs. Now, I want to do it differently.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example. There was a young lady that came to me and she said, I've been helping the elderly for years now. And I want to now go get my nurse's assistant certification.
Okay.
So she went to the local community college and they said, oh, you're going to have to take these tests and this before you can get into that program. So she was demoralized. She was like, okay. So she comes back to me and I said, okay, I'm so sorry. Call this company. They give a boot camp for getting that certification. And so she was able to go to a boot camp and she got her certification within a couple weeks. Why? Because she has been doing this stuff already. Let the certification weed people out. Why are we saying in the college career readiness standard that you got to take all these tests before you can go do this or that? Well, my belief is in the prepared professional standard, you let the certification weed the people out.
Okay. So what about folks who may already be in the workforce who don't have access to a particular certification? We're talking right now, right?
Mhm.
There's scary changes happening. People are losing their jobs literally left and right. They have the certs, they have the degrees, they put the work in, they climbed up the ladder. Tomorrow they don't have a job. What about those people? How will we take care of those constituents who may not have the luxury of going to a boot camp or going through a formal certification program to sustain themselves and their families?
That's a really good question. We're going to have to get creative. I have a program called the Wisdom Program,
Okay.
where we take a lot of veterans. We even take seniors and people who are, gifted and known for what they do, and we put them on boards. We help, bring them as mentors, and they help companies grow. I think what we've been missing, a lot of companies, I know my company has it, you got to have some smart people around you. I was told by a mentor years ago, he said, if you want money, you're going to have to surround yourself with money, people who know how to get the money.
Right.
You can't be with people who don't know how to get money and y'all, we're going to go do it. We're going to get it. And so my thing is we're going to have to ramp up as we're seeing what's happening at the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that this is a good thing in disguise, because we can bring all that talent back here and hire them to do the work that we need done right here in the county. It's time for growth. We're not going to get anywhere without growth. And so my thing is to think differently and figure out how to bring a lot of that talent into helping us pipeline, because that's the key here. Connecting dots and pipelining small businesses along with nonprofits, along with activists in a lot of, industries that need to come together out of their silos, and let's grow. There's a lot more jobs that are not being filled here, is my point.
Mm-hmm. I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. And I agree with you. I think, especially in the nonprofit sector, I have my own nonprofit. There's so many different industries that are represented right here in the county, even here in the city of Bowie, right? And a lot of those, the ecosystem, I think, can be brought together more to where it benefits the collective. We just need strong leadership who sees that as a vision and who has the power and who has the education and the background to be able to pool all those resources together. So I do understand you in that particular right, sir.
You elect me and you will see me pulling people out of their silos. We're going to do this together.
That's right. That's right. It's about the community as a collective. I want to talk a little bit more about seniors.
Okay.
Here in the city of Bowie, we have a huge senior community. A lot of folks are a little bit nervous. They want to hear, how are the seniors going to be taken care of by their elected official? What would you say to that particular demographic tonight?
I would say that it is important that we honor our seniors. It's important that we are able to give them truly affordable housing. I said it in a forum, I think last night, that I actually have blueprints. My company actually have blueprints for $120,000 homes. Now that's actually affordable housing. And communities that we want to build that have solar and hydro energy.
Okay.
Where seniors are not paying any money for energy, and the cost of the house is very low, to the point where in some cases it doesn't cost them anything. Why? Because the county will be making money off of the energy that we are generating.
Wow.
Because so the concept is, opposed to having a bunch of solar farms off and taking up a lot of land, with communities that we build. So veteran communities, senior citizen communities, just a lot of different communities that we can build and actually be affordable housing. And so that's what I would like to do. Now, there's a debate that is raging right now. We have a lot of abandoned buildings here in the county. And some people would like to see those transformed as well for seniors. I'm not against that. I'm open to all ideas, but I do know that once we bring on the market true affordable housing, it will kind of keep stuff from getting crazy.
Okay.
These prices are becoming extremely crazy. And I'm just going to say it like that.
Okay.
Plain talk.
We'll leave it there. I was going to touch on energy, but you kind of talked about that a little bit already. I want to move back a little bit into the budgeting money taxes piece, because in some of your interviews, you've proposed reducing taxes as part of your platform. Mm-hmm. So how do you talked about energy a little bit, but how else do you plan to balance tax cuts with maintaining or even expanding essential county services like public safety and education and understanding the current deficit?
Okay, so there's different buckets that we have to look at in our society.
Okay.
There is the bucket of people leaving, and then us attracting back to our county. So let's just take 10,000 people. We bring 10,000 people here. That's close to $1 billion, that we're losing. When you look at our returning citizens, not all, but a good portion of them want a way forward. And so what we're putting together is meeting them inside the prison system and getting them certified financial literacy and life skills, and having companies look at them while they're in. And trying to help them get an early release once they have that job.
Wow.
That brings more money to our county. The other bucket is building better. I mean, how are you going to want the county to make more money in taxes and sales and revenue and our businesses, if we're not building in a way that will sponsor that type of explosion? And so my thing is, if we build better, we will get the revenue that we need. It's just that simple for me. And once we get that right mix happening and people now see us as the best education system, and I believe we can turn the education piece around a lot quicker.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, some people are like, well, now wait, how long is this going to take? It's perception and it's a policy, right? So 3 to 6 months, you can turn something around. That's what we talk about in business.
Okay.
So we can turn the education perception around in 3 to 6 months, and we can hold, and that's something else that I would like to do. I want to hold every 3 to 6 months award ceremony where we are showing people who are going into another field through certification education. I really want certification education to be front and center and big, because that's how we grow out of this and people get into better jobs. Nothing's going to be handed to you. So, but this is a way that you can get out of your situation, and it doesn't take a year.
Okay, so we're moving quickly here with Mr. Cruz. Okay, from the business lens, from the financial lens, from the entrepreneurial lens. One question that I always ask as we prepare to close out the interview is, should you be elected, what do you want your stamp on the county to look like? What would your lasting legacy be?
My lasting legacy would be workforce and economic development. He really turned that around, and our kids, our adults, our returning citizens, they have upward mobility.
That's huge, because that impacts not just the individual, but the family and the collective in total. I understand that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mr. Cruz, you certainly kept us on our toes tonight and presented us with a lot of new, innovative, and creative ideas, specifically from the technology vantage point, which I appreciate. And I'm really excited to see what work you will do in the county. What should you win the seat or not? I do believe that in my conversations with the various candidates, we have brilliant talent here with so much experience across so many different industries, and we need that energy to infiltrate our community no matter what the seat looks like. That's that right, sir. So how can folks follow you to see what you're doing along your campaign trail leading up to the special election?
Well, that's a good question. You can go to marcelluscruz.com. That's my website. You can follow me on social media, Marcellus Cruz. Go Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm on all platforms, but if you're on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, you can go there and follow me, Marcellus Cruz.
Fantastic, sir. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for sharing your vision, and best wishes to you in the upcoming election.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, folks, Kayla Evans signing off.
Thank you so much for joining me for another extraordinary conversation today on The Kayla Evans Show. I invite you to stay engaged with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at The Kayla Evans Show on all social media and podcast platforms. More love, more life, more blessings. Until we meet again.
This election season, The Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV brings you up close and personal with Prince George's County executive candidates. It's more than politics. We're diving into their stories, passions, and visions for our community. Tune in daily on Bowie TV local channels and YouTube, and on the Kayla Evans Show YouTube channel. The special election is March 4th. Let's get into it.
Welcome to The Kayla Evans Show. This platform is uniquely designed to educate and empower individuals of all walks of life as we converse with experts of various industries. These intellectual conversations are designed to inspire and uplift members of our culture and society, collectively gaining knowledge and information dedicated to our human experience. Let's get into it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Kayla Evans Show on Bowie TV. We are here with another one of our illustrious candidates for the Prince George's County Executive Candidate Forum, where we spotlight the leaders and change makers shaping our community. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a dynamic force in Prince George's County politics, Ms. Tanya Sweat. An accomplished attorney and former federal manager, Tanya brings a wealth of financial expertise and a passion for public service to the table. As a Democratic candidate for Prince George's County Executive, she's focused on tackling budget challenges, reducing county debt, and improving our high school graduation rates. Join me as we dive into her vision for the future of our county and the real solutions she's bringing to the forefront. Ms. Sweat, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Kayla. I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's cold here in the DMV. For the folks who aren't local, we are bracing ourselves for yet another snowstorm, but you know what? We're pushing through nonetheless.
Absolutely. Look, hence my sweater today because it is cold.
We got all the heaters on. We're doing everything we can up here. Okay, keep us in prayer. But folks, we're just going to jump right in. Ms. Sweat, do you want to give us a brief introduction from your perspective of who you are before we jump into the depth of our interview today?
Look, very brief because you did a phenomenal job, excellent job introducing me. Yes, I am an attorney, 30 years of complex civil and criminal litigation experience. I also served as a judge advocate in the United States Air Force. And my last assignment on active duty was right here in Prince George's County. So this has kind of been home for me for a long time now. And I worked in the federal government as a financial and banking regulator. And I tell people my claim to fame is I served on a team that wrote the policy that became the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010. And during our writing process, believe it or not, our home, Prince George's County, was our case study. So I learned a lot about our housing market, how banks had taken advantage of many of our residents here. And I learned a lot about our economy. And I can use all of that experience and background as a county executive to help us get out of debt, number one, and get rid of our deficit in our budget.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about that act, since that is your claim to fame? I just want to.
Yes. I got hired in 2005. Dates are running together. It's been a long time. 2005, after I left the Air Force, I was hired by a banking regulator, small regulator, the National Credit Union Administration. The primary focus of NCUA, we call it, is regulating and insuring credit unions in the nation. I was the new girl in the office, and they gave me a not so sexy topic of consumer protection. At the time, it wasn't the flavor of the day. Mm-hmm. So I worked a lot with the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I worked with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Department of Treasury, the Federal Reserve Board, FEMA, you name it. I worked with a lot of agencies in the government to talk about consumer protection. We worked with DOJ and HUD on issues involving fair housing. And so literally, I was the consumer protection expert in the office. Well, here comes 2007, 2008, and the mortgage bubble burst.
Yes, it did.
And what wasn't sexy, all of a sudden became the thing. Mm-hmm. And because I was the person in the office who'd been working on it the longest, of course, I got thrown on all the task force, all the working groups to deal with this issue. And so working with the Fed, the FDIC, OCC, OTS, all these lettered government agencies trying to figure out how we're going to manage what's mm-hmm. happening to our housing market. And at the whole time, like for instance, here in Prince George's County, houses are losing 47% of their value overnight. Ooh. How do you stop that? And the only thing you can do in the executive branch of government is write regulations. And literally, we were churning regulations faster than you could blink your eye, whether it was changes to the regs on truth in lending, truth in saving, anything dealing with consumer protection. You got to give disclosures. You got to give notice. This is how you do mortgages. This is what you got to give in that HUD 1 before you sell a house. All of this stuff we're doing. And we get called up to Capitol Hill, to the Housing Finance Committee briefing room. Ooh. And we were told, you guys did a good job, but not good enough. And we're looking at them like, well, wow. We don't have the legal authority to do anything else. And the next call we got was, you don't have the authority, but somebody else does.
Okay.
Congressman Frank and Senator Dodd are going to take what you've done and make it law.
Ooh, wow.
And we were like, okay, this is great. You're going to make it law. That law included creating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which unfortunately 47 just shut down, yes. Locked the doors like 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. But I had the pleasure of helping to stand up that agency. But the sad part about it is, after they pass a new law, guess what? The reg writing process starts all over again.
Oh, what a world.
So yeah, after writing the regulations, putting the policies in place, now we got to implement them. And I guess I had done such a great job, I got promoted to become a middle manager in the federal government. Wow. I was given a budget, given a team of people to supervise, given the authority to put them on planes and send them all over the country. And literally, that's what I did for my last job in the government. I was sending examiners to different banks, credit unions, financial institutions to help with examinations to make sure they were following the laws that I actually helped to write and put in place.
That's incredible. And that translates, I'm sure, directly to the unique challenges of Prince George's County at the local level. So
Absolutely.
how would you take that complex federal system type of work and then recreate that here in Prince George's County as the county executive?
Exactly. As a county executive, I mean, it's the same process. Literally, what we have to do now is take a team of experts who know what they're doing. And my team would include economists,
Mhm.
our Office of Finance, our tax assessor, our debt manager, and we'd sit down in what I would call a war room, basically my office, and say, okay, let's talk. What revenue do we have coming in? What expenses are we required to pay? What is the debt looking like? What are we doing with our money? And now let's figure out where we're wasting money, where we might be mismanaging money. If necessary, we may even have to call in auditors and do an audit to figure out, okay, what's going on with the county spending, such that now for 2 years in a row, we're telling our Prince Georgians, we're telling our homeowners we're going to have a deficit. And I don't want to cut services. I don't think that's the way to answer the question. We need to cut spending, but not cut services, because there's a lot of discretionary spending in any budget. I call it fluff and stuff. It's waste that we can get rid of very quickly and save money so that our residents don't suffer because of what we're doing in government.
Absolutely. Well, since we're on the budget topic, that's the hot button. That's the hot button for what it is right now. Not just in the state of Maryland or Prince George's County, but across the country. As we're looking at tackling these budget shortfalls and reducing county debt, what are some of the missteps aside from the what do you call it? The fluff and stuff, the stuff and fluff? How will your specific approach differ from some of the previous administrations from what we've seen in the past?
Since at least 2005, the county has been doing a lot of borrowing. That's not a good thing because we're living on credit. Everybody knows when we go to vote, I don't care if it's governor or the president, when we go to vote in an election, there's always a referendum about a municipal bond. And most people will say, yes, because we need to put money in the libraries. We need to support Prince George's Community College. Yes, we need to build more police stations and government buildings. But voters don't understand those bonds are loans to the government. That's not a grant. That's not miracle money. It's a loan, and it has to be paid back by taxpayers. Hence the need to do a referendum and have it placed on the ballot. And literally every time I vote for governor or president in this county, there's been a bond on my ballot. And we have to stop that, because now the county literally has $2.9 billion. B like boy, like bravo, not million, $1 billion in debt, which is half of the revenue we collect on our real property taxes. So you will hear our elected officials now talk about 62% of our budget going to the schools and the public safety. And our debt is 50% of the gross revenue. What does that mean? The county is insolvent. We don't have enough money to cover our debts and expenses. And in a personal household, when that happens, people declare bankruptcy. And I don't want to see that happen to Prince George's County. And I've had people ask me, can a county really declare bankruptcy? And I say, yes, they can. You remember Detroit?
Ooh.
Detroit, Michigan declared bankruptcy. Do we want to go through that experience? We have to get our spending under control. We have to. And we have to stop borrowing money. So when y'all hear them talking about that AAA plus credit rating, that's a credit score. What do you do with a credit score? You buy a car, you buy a house, you buy things you can't afford because you don't have the cash in the bank right now. And when you buy those things and you don't have liquid cash, you are borrowing to get it. The county has to stop that. We're supposed to have a balanced budget every single year. And what we don't include in our budget every year is the debt that we're holding. So our budget is not balancing.
So this is fantastic. So understanding the property tax, right? The real tax dollars coming from the taxpayers, from property taxes. Tell us a little bit about what your plan would be from the commercial side of the house. How are we attracting more business here so that we can pour more revenue into the county that way? What would your plan for that look like?
And my plan would change from
Okay.
what we're doing right now.
Okay.
First things first. The biggest constituent we have in this county, we've ignored that constituent for years. The Commanders Organization.
Ooh. Oh,
They're huge. And there are some elected officials who've thrown their hands up and said, well, they're leaving. They still here for 2 more years. The lease does not expire until 2027. Okay. Now let's talk about the Commanders.
Okay.
Right now, they're bringing $2.8 million in property taxes. The land that the stadium sits on, $2.86 million to be exact in property taxes. I looked it up. In addition to that, state law requires a 10% sales tax on every ticket that is sold into Northwest Stadium. Every ticket. And that's been the case since 1997.
Ooh.
Regular sales tax is 6%. The Commanders collect 10%. Now, where does that money go?
That was my next
10%,
question.
yes. Believe it or not, according to the law, the 10% sales tax comes directly to Prince George's County.
Okay.
In the earlier years, it was divided between the state and the county.
Okay.
Well, the bond that the state took out to build the stadium has been paid off for years. And since that bond has been paid off, the law authorizes Prince George's County to collect every penny of the sales tax collected at Northwest Stadium.
Wow.
And it's not just football tickets. When Beyonce came and did her concert for 2 nights, 10% sales tax.
Ooh.
When local Little League programs have their soccer tournaments there, there's a 10% sales tax on those tickets. Every ticket sold to go into that stadium has a 10% sales tax that comes back to the county. Now, how have we failed our constituent? They're bringing in all this money. We've not built a sports and entertainment complex to support them. So when the Commanders are playing during the regular season, if you pay attention to the traffic on the Beltway,
Yes, ma'am.
people come in on Sundays, they go to the game, and they get out of here right after the game is over. That is not the NFL way. Think about what just happened Sunday with Super Bowl. People went to New Orleans a week before the game. They partied, they ate, they slept, they had a good time. New Orleans got a big boon off of the NFL because people come to town. It's tourism.
Right.
We don't get that same boom because we don't have anything here to offer. So if we build that sports and entertainment complex in Landover, and there's land there to do it around that stadium, we can too get hotel visits Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes Sunday night.
Right.
If we build restaurants and sports bars and give those restaurants and bars a liquor license, again, that attracts people.
That does.
They'll come eat, they'll drink, build another shopping center, they'll shop, they'll stay. All that's revenue for us. For us.
Absolutely.
And we're not thinking about that. We want to build mixed use housing. Okay, we're just going to attract more residents. That's more tax burden on homeowners. No. I need visitors to come leave a little money with us and go on back home. That's what I want. That's how we grow our economy and relieve the burden on taxpayers.
Understood. I want to change gears here a little bit, moving from the money, but it's still a topic that everything's impacted by the budget, right? And that's the education space. That's a space that's very near and dear to my heart as a parent of a PG County scholar. As we're kind of looking at what's happening in the education space beyond graduation rates, what are some of the innovative strategies you would look at implementing for our students and our upcoming scholars to prepare them for life after high school and entrepreneurship in a way to where it would benefit the county as constituents here post-graduation?
Great question. And guess what? I'm a parent of PGCPS scholars too. I have my firstborn graduated from a science and tech program.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Look, he's old now. He graduated in 2020.
Okay.
Went to college. Yep. He's graduated from college now. And guess what? He's an assistant football coach at a university in Ohio.
Oh my.
So great things are possible for our PGCPS students.
Yes, ma'am. What a testimony.
Yes. My baby girl is a 7th grader at Accokeek Academy, another honor student. We are so proud of our children. And what I want to do is give every child in this county, I call them all my babies. My children know mama has 135,000 kids, even though 2 of them came from her womb. They're all my babies. And I want to make sure they all have the best education our money can buy. What you will never hear out of my mouth is you will never hear me complain as a leader of this county about how much money from our budget goes to the school system.
Absolutely.
Because that's important. That's the most important investment we can make. How are we going to take that money, what I think is like $3 billion. How are we going to take that $3 billion and turn it into a profit?
Right.
Well, the blueprint for Maryland's future, which I fought for right along with other PTA moms and dads, I lobbied loosely because I'm not a lobbyist, but I did. I testified before the Curran Commission. I testified before the General Assembly. I fought for that bill just like other parents did. That bill requires our school system, number one, to establish an education for 3-year-olds, not just 4-year-olds. We're supposed to have pre-K 3
right
now, so that we can start educating younger children who may not get to learn their colors and their numbers at home, their ABCs at home. We're supposed to do that. We're also supposed to establish a strong foundation for children who have special needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our disabled children in Prince George's County are being left behind until they get to 5. I have clients, yes, I represent special education children and their families. And I have clients right now who are fighting for an IEP from Prince George's County Public Schools because they have a 2-year-old who is diagnosed autistic and has a speech delay.
Mm-hmm.
Under federal law, that child is supposed to get an IEP and should have access to our schools, but we're not doing that. We have to start early. The other thing we have to do under the blueprint by 2030, every child is supposed to graduate college ready or with some certification that transitions them to a job. We've got to build a more robust career and technical education program. Right now in PGCPS, CTE is optional. No longer should it be optional. It should be mandatory. If you're not in an honors program, if you're not in science and tech, if you're not in a college program that is going to get you ready to transition to a 4-year university or even a 2-year university,
right,
you have to be in a CTE program that allows you to move into the trades and continue your education, 1, because they're going to train you to do the job, and 2, is going to give you gainful employment. So you don't have to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from.
That's right.
We have to do that. The law requires it by 2030, but our governor has put a pause on that. I'm not happy about that at all. But because Prince George's County has home rule, we can still do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can continue the process. And as your county executive, I'm going to work with the school system to make sure we continue that process. The other thing I've already done is talk to labor unions and shared my thoughts and ideas with them because I want them to help us train our young people to do the jobs of electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians. These are jobs that don't require college, but they get paid in some instances more money than I get paid because they don't have college debt. So that's what I'm talking about. And the more young people we put to work, the greater our income tax revenue is. So again, we're diversifying the revenue of the county and we're not relying solely on real estate taxes.
Understood. As you're talking about what that dichotomy looks like, understanding the relationship with the superintendent of schools and with the Board of Education, with a lot of new incomers to following the recent general election, what would your relationship look like with them as you strive to put these new programs, initiatives into place?
Look, as tough as I sound, I'm a pussycat.
You seem tough. Okay. Just putting that out there. Okay. Understood.
I am, believe it or not, I've met our new superintendent, and he's not so new anymore. This is his second school year.
Yeah.
I met him once, and offered to sit down with him and have a one-on-one conversation. Have not yet had the pleasure.
He's kind.
But look, from what I see coming out of the office and writing, from what I hear, he seems to be a very knowledgeable man. He knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, he's got his challenges he's got to deal with. And I'm willing to work with him to overcome those challenges because they're not his making. So I cannot hold him accountable for those.
That's right.
This is the other thing I share. I am known, not just throughout this county by elected officials, I'm known throughout the state. Okay. Yes. I served on the Maryland State PTA board before that went away. That's a whole nother story. We won't talk about it. I almost need a drink to talk about that. But I served on the state PTA before it was dissolved. And like I said, I worked very hard to get the blueprint enacted. The leaders at the Maryland State Education Association know me well because I partnered with them. Maryland PTA partnered with MSEA to get this thing over the hump. Our state legislators, whether they're delegates or state senators, they know me. They've heard my name. They've heard my big mouth fussing, complaining about something in Annapolis. I've testified in Annapolis more times than most people even would think about in this county. I was appointed to 2 committees for the Maryland State Department of Education. So they know me there as well. And yes, every county council member in this county knows me because I've been in that council room complaining, fussing, testifying, advocating for some issue in this county, whether it's public safety and the volunteer firefighters, whether it's ethics, whether it was the zoning laws, you name it, I've been there. The elected folks in this county know the name Sweat, and they know I'm not out here shucking and jiving. I come with the law and I ask them to comply with the law. And when they don't comply, I hold them accountable. So same thing with the school system. Same thing with the Board of Education. We can have a conversation. This is not about me trying to embarrass anybody or make you look bad. I want to work with everyone to make Prince George's County as strong as we say it is.
Amen. It's the way that you clap the hands. Okay, that's how
yes, ma'am. Hey, we got to get this. You got to get it done. This is urgent.
It is urgent, and as a resident here in Prince George's County, trust in government here is an issue, right?
Yes.
We've seen people come and go. We've seen the cliques. We've seen the interactions and folks helping other folks based upon affiliation, whether it be sorority and fraternity, right, whether it be being backed by certain super PACs and other groups that have their own particular agendas. So understanding the history of that, one of my key things that I look for in a candidate as a voter is integrity, right? So what can you say to our voter base about who Ms. Tanya Sweat is as an individual and how your integrity will reign true throughout your role as the Prince George's County executive?
Wow, I love that question. Oh, do I love that question. First and foremost, I'm a child of the Most High.
Yes, ma'am.
Saved by grace, okay? I'm not perfect. And I understand the proverb that says, to whom much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. And I've been given a lot in my life. My mother and my maternal grandparents, who are my grandma and granddaddy are deceased, but let me tell you, they would haunt me in my sleep. Mm-hmm. because what they taught me as a child still lives with me today. My word is my bond. The only thing I have is my name. And once those things are gone, I'm worthless. It's not about the money, the house, the cars, none of that. My husband has entrusted me with his last name, and I will not bring dishonor to the name of Sweat. Okay.
Yes,
I didn't grow up with my father, so I didn't have a problem getting rid of my maiden name.
understood.
But I wouldn't even disrespect the man that I never knew.
Ooh.
There is so much in a name, and I've worked 30 years of my adult life building my reputation. I will not throw it away for a couple dollars. Okay, first and foremost. Secondly, service is literally what I do. I grew up in the church. I live the word. It's not about reading it or preaching it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I walk the walk every day, and I have to take care of my neighbors. And I tell everybody, children and my elders are always going to be my top two priorities, because they're at a point in life when they really cannot take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't do it, then who will? Them ones in between, you got some options and opportunities. I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to help you, but you can fend for yourself. And I don't want to have to fight with grown folk to get grown folk to do the right thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to do the right thing by my babies, and I'm going to do the right thing by my elders, because I was taught to honor and respect them. And I will do that till the day I die. My integrity shines through because I do what I say, and I say what I mean, and I'm transparent. My team will tell you that. If Sweat tell you she ain't going to do something, Sweat ain't doing it. And I'll explain to you why.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem standing in front of a microphone, standing in front of a group of people, and acknowledging my failures, my mistakes, and who I am. Because at the end of the day, I got to sleep with myself.
That's right.
And if I can't go to sleep with me at night, I got a problem.
That's a
And
problem.
ultimately, I know there's going to come a day when judgment is coming, and I've got to give an account for every single thing I've done here on this earth. And yes, when I do close my eyes and take my last breath, I want to hear, well done.
Amen.
So that's who I am at my core. That's how I live my life. No matter where I am, job, home, friendships, that's me. Yeah, I cut up, I laugh, I have a good time. No, I'm not perfect. However, I get up, dust myself off, acknowledge my flaws and failures, and say, how can I do better the next time? That's me.
Amen. Amen. You took us to church for a second there, Miss Sweat. I grew up in the church as well. So I understand. It's not about just what you read or what you say, but it's about how you live. And I believe
Absolutely.
that's what this county needs, is someone who not just says what they say or talk the talk, walk the walk, but has to walk the walk. And I think that's
Absolutely.
what we need. Understanding that piece about who you are as an individual. There's a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of different seats and roles stemming from the various cities, the various districts, funneling up into the county. And then the county's interconnected across the state. So how do you see yourself as the county executive bridging those gaps, making sure that those relationships move in synergy for the sake of your constituents?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I represent the people as the county executive. I represent the people of Prince George's County. According to the census data, there are 947,430 of us. Okay. We're not monolithic. We're very diverse, whether it's culture, skin color, language, background, whether it's class or wealth, whether it's education,
right,
experience, training. We're all different. But at the end of the day, the county charter says the county executive will do what's in the best interest of all of us. So first and foremost, as the county executive, my loyalty is to the people of Prince George's County. Period. Full stop. Now, how do I work with others? Prince George's County has partners, whether it's on the state level, whether it's on the national federal level, even cross borders in Virginia and in the district. I will work with them, partner with them, collaborate with them to meet the needs of the people here in Prince George's County. But what I cannot do, what I will not do, is sacrifice the interest of the people of Prince George's County just to say I accomplished something. I will never do anything for political expedience, because at the end of the day, the consequences are going to be suffered by my residents.
Right.
And I have to take responsibility for that, and I should be held accountable for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I acknowledge we have special interests in the county, whether it's builders, manufacturers, whether it's businesses that sell us services and goods. And yes, I'll consider their thoughts and their concerns, but at the end of the day, I will never sacrifice the best interests of my people, of us, because I'm a Prince Georgian too. I'm not going to sacrifice what's in our best interest to make the special interest happy. I will consider that, but it cannot come first.
Understood. And to that light, we're in very, unprecedented times, right? Very uncertain times. Those are kind of the words of the era: uncertain, unprecedented. People are panicking. People don't know what to do, right? As the county executive, what will your role look like in making provisions for your constituents, working with state legislators and whatnot, to kind of combat some of the things that are happening on the federal level with our new administration?
The interesting part about this election cycle, the timing is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Tell us.
The legislative session is going on right now. And the primary election doesn't happen until May 7th. Legislative session ends April 7th. And guess what? While everybody looks at the primary as the actual election because of our wealth of Democrats in this county, your new county executive won't get sworn in until June, because we still have to go through a general election.
Right.
And so while I will advocate with the General Assembly for the last 30 days of the session, when I become the presumptive county executive, I still recognize and understand that I don't have the authority to really negotiate on behalf of this county until June, the summer, which sucks. Right. I mean, I'm just going to keep it honest. What I'm doing now, even in campaigning, I say things and I throw out ideas because I want them to understand, if I'm elected, this is where I'm coming from.
Right.
So when I come at you with it, don't be surprised, because you heard it on the campaign trail and I didn't say it just for laughs and fun. I am dead serious about this because I've studied this county for a long time. I've lived in this county for a long time. I feel the pain every homeowner is feeling, and I know we have to do something different. So when I say these things, I say it because I mean it, and I say it because I'm going to do it. So when I come at you, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Right.
I will continue to advocate no matter what, because I am a lawyer, okay? I will have, in my mind, 947,430 clients, all with issues, interests, and concerns that I have to deal with. And I will continue to advocate on the federal level with our federal delegation to ask them to do what they can under the circumstances to get what we need for us right here in Prince George's County. I will continue to advocate with the Board of Public Works, because when our legislative session is over, there's still a Board of Public Works that controls the finances of this state. Oh, I will be talking to the comptroller, the treasurer, and the governor, constantly saying, this is what we need in Prince George's County. And I think for many years, that's what we have not had for us. That is what has gone lacking. Oh, I'm going to get in there and fight. I tell people, I don't mind scrapping. I'm a fighter. Yes.
We see it. That's what we need.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I'm going to fight for Prince George's County. That's the only thing that's going to save us at this moment in time. The other thing I'm going to do is I'll be out there in the private markets fighting for Prince George's County, because there are resources and assets on the private market that we can get that won't cost us a dime.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to bring it home. That's why day one, Mr. Josh Harris, I need to talk to you when I become the presumptive county executive. We cannot wait till June to start talking about the commanders. We need to have that conversation in March so we can start planning right now. Literally, private sector. I'm going duking it. I'm duking it out because we got to have it. We got to have it. Desperate. We're desperate right now.
We are.
And look, James Brown was from South Carolina too. I ain't too proud to be. Let's go get it.
Well, this is a question I like to kind of close the interview with. Now that we understand a little bit about who you are, how you operate, your background, your experience, your faith, your family.
Absolutely.
As you anticipate moving into this county executive role, what do you want your legacy to look like?
My children have always been my muse. I have to go back to the word, because the word says it's a wise man who leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And we misunderstand what that means. We think I got to leave the house, the car, a mega insurance policy for my grandchildren. That's not what God was talking about. Prince George's County is my children's legacy.
Ooh.
They were born here. They grew up here. They were educated here. And even though my adult son has chosen to start his career in Ohio, he should never feel like he cannot come home. My daughter's still here. And I'm honest with people. My husband and I have threatened, because we get so frustrated with stuff sometimes, we threaten to pack up and leave. Because, look, let's just keep it real. We like the folks who did leave. We can if we want to. But that's not who I am. Right. I always have to leave it better than I found it. Okay. And so every time we threaten to leave, my daughter starts to cry. And she said, this is home. This is all I know. You can't take my friends away from me. I was born in the house we live in. Are you serious? Wow. This 13-year-old is deep with this thing. This is her legacy. I have to do this for them. And not only for the two children I gave birth to, the two children we've raised here. I have to do this for every other child in Prince George's County. Because remember, I told you I've adopted them all. They're my babies.
Right.
I cannot leave Prince George's County in a mess that they cannot afford to manage or to keep. And we're on the road right now. If we don't fix it immediately, there will be nothing for our children.
Right.
That's what motivates me. It's for the future of Prince George's County. And my legacy will be, I did it for the babies. I did it for the babies.
That's it. That's incredible. Miss Tanya Sweat, thank you so much for being here today and sharing so much of you and allowing voters an opportunity to understand who that is, who that name is that they see flashing. So people can be informed about what they're doing when they go to the polls, whether they submit it in person or whether they submit it by mail. But it's their civic duty to make that decision for themselves. And I appreciate you for being so transparent on this particular platform here this evening.
Absolutely. And I'll tell each and every one of the voters who are viewing this, we talk about money in politics. That's why most of us hate politics. And when I'm not running on $100,000 budget, because I literally am seeking the approval of the people. The people is there. You are making this hiring decision. The voters are making this decision. And so I consider it a pleasure and an obligation to sit down with you and share me. I cannot ask you to vote for me. I cannot ask you to hire me as your county's chief executive if you don't know who I am.
That's right. That's right.
I cannot ask you to follow me if you don't know where I'm going. If you don't know what drives me.
That's right.
And so this was for me, this was a pleasure for me. This is easy. I don't mind doing this. And I will promise you this, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Amen. We need that.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Yeah, we need to
I'll be back.
We need to see
Yes.
hear from you in whatever capacity
Absolutely.
that looks like.
Absolutely. Because it's the approval of the voters. It's the approval of the Prince George's County residents that matters most to me.
Amen.
And I give each and every one of you the right to fire me if I don't do what I said I was going to do.
All right. You heard it here on the Kayla Evans Show, everyone, here on Bowie TV. We thank you so much, Ms. Sweat, again for your time. Tell folks how they can follow you on socials and online so they can keep up with what's happening with your campaign leading up to the special election.
Absolutely. It's all simple. Website is TonyaSweat.com. That's TonyaSweat.com.
That's it.
And all of my social media, all the handles are at Tonya Sweat, PGC, except Facebook. Facebook wouldn't let me have the C. So it's Tonya Sweat PG. But if you hit Tonya Sweat PG, you got me on Facebook, Twitter, or X. I'm sorry. I'm old.
It's okay.
It's X. Instagram. I am on Flickr. Thousands of pages on Flickr, so you can see my craziness out there with the pictures. I'm also on YouTube. There are about 50 videos of me on YouTube. And most of those, the most recent ones, talk about the various issues in the county that we need to address. So you can get into my head and see what I'm thinking about education, the debt, the budget, municipal bonds, you name it, workforce development, it's out there.
Okay.
So I'm transparent. I won't say I'm an open book, but I'm transparent. You know exactly how I'm going to govern the day I take office. There will be no secrets, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
We got it. Locked and loaded. We'll make sure
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is available for folks to see on display.
Awesome.
All right, everyone.
Thank you
so much again, Ms. Sweat, for joining us this afternoon and being a part of our PG County Executive Forum series. Until next time, folks.
Thank you so much for joining me for another extraordinary conversation today on The Kayla Evans Show. I invite you to stay engaged with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please follow me at The Kayla Evans Show on all social media and podcast platforms. More love, more life, more blessings. Until we meet again.